Hello, this is Pat Winter, and I'm here to share my second design team project for Sam Poole. I used several of her haberdashery kits because that's one of my favorite themes, and I know I've used a lot from them before, but she's added some new things since, and I have someone who wanted a haberdashery themed journal, so I decided to go ahead and make this one. And it is a 3-signature journal. It's almost a gator mouth, and it's a hardcover. And I just put a piece of, I think this was a curtain, like a valance, because it had several sections to it. So I'm going to use this, I'm going to put a ribbon on it, and it's going to be used as a bookmark. And I covered it with one of the fabrics that I had used before that this person loved. It had this little lady on it, so I covered it with a charm, or I bordered it. What did I do? I framed it with this charm to emphasize her, and just put this little metal sewing journal label. And I used a jewelry clasp for the closure. And inside, instead of putting a pocket like I usually do, I used Velcro and just added some useful items, some vintage laces, or lace cards, and these sweet little pins that I learned how to make from Heather of Ruby and Pearl. And so I ordered some T-pins and rusted them, and I think that was such a cute idea. So I did that in a few places throughout the book. And these little cards, I added some embroidery floss, so the person can use the floss, they can use the laces. This is another lace. And this is a vintage French metallic lace, just a little piece that I just thought was fitting. And then some of Sam's pretty little images that I printed on coffee stained paper. And like I said, a few of them, few images, pockets and such, are from different designers. Here's a little sample of lace. And some of Sam's, I used a little rusty paper clip, a little piece of lace sample, and just made some journaling cards. And a lot of journaling cards in here, and one of Sam's Polaroids. A little rusty pin with a little rhinestone. This tiny envelope, I love these little envelopes. If I can get it open. There we go. Just has a little tag in it. Well, I'll fuss with that later. And another sepia image. And this is an old vintage little needle. It was the samples that salesmen used to give out in companies. This one's from the Stanley Home Products from Massachusetts. So I thought that would be cute in there. Sylvain from Blue Darage. I'm probably butchering it. She puts a lot of vintage ephemera and sample cards and just tiny pairs of rusted scissors and stuff like that in her journals, and they're just adorable. So I thought I would start finding bits and pieces here and there, putting them in a basket, and start adding more in my journals, because none of us can really use what all we've collected, I'm sure. This is just a little button hidden paper clip with a couple of Sam's cards. And some of the pages have the page tabs with a little, like this says pattern paper, so here's a little sewing wheel, a marking tool for sewing. and a vintage piece of super fine cotton fabric that had been embroidered. I did a little dye job with pink, with avocado dye, and rinsed it quickly, so I just got, it kind of looks like it's aged. You can't see much of the pink, but anyway, another card for journaling. A couple nice open pages for journaling, a little notepad. Here's another card that she can use the lace, and another large card that she can write notes on the back, but I did sew on some mother of pearl buttons and then secured it with a little coat hanger paper clip, which I will fuss with later. And this is a vintage piece of black lace that I'm using as a sample, and some more of her kit pieces, except for this. This is from something else, and they just make nice little journaling cards. And again, another of Sam's pretty photos. And I like to use these papers. I can't remember where they're from, but they're just, looks like torn papers and bits and pieces, fragments. And for some reason, I like using them. So that's tucks in there. And an envelope. I believe these have stamps. No, these aren't. These are more paper fragments to be used for dates or little notes. And some more of Sam's. Like these are the sewing ladies, a sewing club from way back when. And this file folder, I put a large piece of paper that she could write on the back. And she can fill that with other things that she has. And here's another little, very old piece of lace, and another of those little T-pins. And this one's thimbles, so I put a little thimble charm. A nice writing space. And just trimmed off with some ribbon and some vintage lace. And this is just tissue paper. No, this is not tissue paper, it's tracing paper. And this is a little angel pin that I thought would be cute, and just for whatever reason, stuck in there. And these cute little pieces. And more journaling, lots of journaling cards. And these are nice tall ones. I just put tabs on them for easy access. More cards to journal on, and some small ones in here under one of her labels. And some tracing paper pocket, and some more journaling cards. That's a vintage French book page. And this one says sewing machine, so there's a little sewing machine and a piece of lace embroidered. A little vintage mother of pearl button with some vintage, or some journaling cards that could be removed and added to, and some more journaling space in this little tuck. Avocado dyed paper, and another fine piece of vintage lace, which I thought paired well with the tracing paper, both very delicate. And these are flip outs that you could put little notes and hide them from eyes that should not be looking at them. And another piece of, or page, French page, and a piece of the fabric that I had used for the cover. just looked like an invoice. I thought it was interesting. Piece of sari. And lots more journaling cards. All shapes and sizes, even a tiny little tiny one here. So you could still write a little date or jot some little memory on. And this one says make, do, and mend, so it's a little sewing basket. It's got some vintage lace and a pretty piece of cotton fabric. And under this little belly band is a matchbook writing pad or notepad that I made with one of the sample cards, or sample cards. And in this pocket, I just put several journaling cards with Sam's Polaroids. And I just stamped some stitching from the rubber stamp that I had. I just stamped some different stitches throughout the journal and on tags and stuff like that. And then I sewed around this lace to use as a journaling or a tuck spot, and put some nice sized cards and a large piece of paper, and then pinned on a couple smaller pieces to journal on, and tucked some more under here. And these, for slow stitching, the owner can actually use these. You could just take these off, remove the staple, and use them in her slow stitch projects if she wants. I love this little piece, this little vintage piece of cotton. The detail is just so pretty. So I thought that was fun. And this one says scissors, so naturally there's just a piece of scissor, or a pair of scissors. And this is from a dresser scarf that belonged to my mother. I remember taking off the dresser when I was small, when it was laundry day, and she'd say, gather the dresser scarves, and I would go around and get them because I grew up in a home of doilies and dresser scarves. And she would always have them scattered about, and I use a lot of them too, even though my daughter-in-law says, those are old-fashioned, you shouldn't be using those, but I do anyway, because that's what I grew up with, and I just like the feminine touch here and there. So this is another from her, oh dear, I don't know which, it's in one of them. I can't remember which one it's in. Noir, maybe? Oh, I'm not sure. I will list them below. And this, I gathered some of my old laces. I just glued a piece of old fabric that had a crocheted border so I could pin it. And I just gathered some of my old laces for her to use in her slow stitching. Some that had interest. So, and here's, I love this one. And then the cotton, that's not so plain. It has a little embroidery on it. So anyway, I thought that would be fun for her to use in her projects, or just leave in the book, whatever she feels. But they can easily be pinned and tucked away in here. And here's a piece of lace that she could also use that I dyed with avocado. It's an old French lace. And I just tucked it in this pocket, which is glued onto a music sheet. Here's another sample. And this, I believe, has stamps. Yeah, Sam's little stamps. They're so cute. They're, oh, it's upside down. They just have her her photos, like her Polaroids on. There's a lot of them, but these I think there's another one. Yeah, here it is. Aren't they sweet? So, and you can write dates on those, or like birth dates, whatever. I like little things like that, so I try to include them in my journals. we won't mess with that right now. Some journaling cards. A pretty lady. And these are Sam's from her haberdashery that I just used this as a tuck for more of her cards, which I printed on cardstock. So you have nice durable cards. And a nice piece of paper, the crinkly tracing paper. Basically just for the crackle effect. And I love this wallpaper. It reminds me of Grandma's house. A paper that would be in her bedroom or sewing room. And this has a vintage piece of lace. And I just filled it with a lot of Sam's ephemera. And a piece of lace that can also be used. Take the staple out and use it. Nice long journaling card. And this is just a tissue, not a tissue, a tracing paper envelope that I put small pieces of tracing paper in. That can still be written on. Here's a lady again. She's tucked behind a parasol. And a big, large piece of tracing paper. And this one says ribbons, so I put a bow charm on it with a piece of ribbon and vintage lace. And a large sample card on the back with another piece of vintage lace. And there's another of my sewing stamps. Some vintage trim. And this is a little pocket for something, something light, like just a little card, journaling card or something. Some more of her pretty photos. And this one says made with love, so I put a heart with a piece of sari and vintage lace. Oop, that's a little pocket. This is a piece in her kit. These wallpapers or fabrics, they actually look like fabrics. So I put a rubber stamped stitching motif there. And this embroidery piece, applique, is just a tuck spot with some cards. And this piece I used to tuck large pieces of paper and half sheets from her the Pastel Doily kit. So there's a lot to write on, a lot to see, a lot of little bits that she can actually use in slow stitching. And that is my project for Sam Poole. And the kits that I used, again, were the Sepia Couture, Pastel Doily, French Haberdashery, Haberdashery Adverts, the vintage doilies, Haberdashery Shop, and French Cottage. And I believe some are from the Noir kit, but I will put them underneath. And I hope you enjoyed it, and hop over to Sam's Etsy and see if you can find some goodies to play with, because I certainly always am happy when I get them purchased and get them printed and start cutting, and it's just very enjoyable. I just love her stuff. So thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.